Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Um, it's pretty much beginning of May, May 5th, of course. Say happy Cinco de Mayo for those who are watching on the day of 5-5. Um, it's kind of almost to the quarter or just close to the quarter of the season, basically. And where the Mets stand right now is not so great. I mean, coming into the season, basically, there were definitely high hopes based on last season, based on some of the additions that they had, specifically with Verlander. Um, the Mets, were figured to be at least in the thick of things in the playoff race at this point, and sort of favored in a ways, behind Atlanta, Philadelphia, and San Diego, of course. The Mets were in there basically to make the World Series. You know, again, think of things. They weren't the favorites, of course, but they were favored. Um, it's a thing where my as if you've seen my videos in the before about the Mets, specifically some of the signings and such, and some of the missed signings or missed opportunities, um, I was concerned that this team was reminding me a little bit of like the '93 Mets, where they had all these stars, a little bit past their prime, but there with the team, and basically they had a losing season, a really horrible season for the next 2 years. Um, so I mean, this was one of those things I was afraid of. I figured, maybe Buck Showalter, because this is Buck Showalter, he wasn't a Jeff Torberg. Um, he would keep them in check and in line, because Showalter, let's not take it away anything granted, but the man is a really good manager. So, and he keeps his team at least competitive. Of course, after this last series against the Detroit Tigers, the Mets were swept. So now the record is pretty much 500, 16 and 16, in third place in the NL East, behind the Florida Marlins, of all teams. Quite honestly, and the question comes down to is what's the cause of this? I mean, the offense was okay enough, but as I mentioned, always it's one of those things where you could always buy runs, but buying runs is not going to help out if you can't contain the runs. And so, looking at the team ERA right now, total for so far, it's about 5.6 on average for the entire team, basically for all the starters, or actually just for the entire pitching staff. Actually, no, sorry, not 5.6, but 5.6 for the starters, 4.61 overall for the entire team, for the entire pitching roster. Uh, the starters themselves are not lasting too far into the innings, and so the Mets are relying heavily onto their relievers. Uh, and it's one of those things where that was one of the weak points we knew that the Mets had. We didn't have any relievers that could go beyond 2 to 3 innings. Um, so that was one of the things that I was concerned about. The Mets never addressed it, and it's something that we can see being utilized or being seen throughout these games. Each team basically looks at it like, what, let's just go into some of these players against some of the starters, specifically Verlander and Scherzer. They're not going to last beyond 6 innings. Knock them out in the first 3 innings. After that, they should be able to handle on basically. But looking at the stats right now for the starters, I mean, honestly, uh, Reyes, of course, is an outlier because he only played one game with 45 ERA. But looking at Peterson, already 6 games, he's already at seven. His ERA is 7.32. Senga, the only decent one out there, is, and as well as McGill, both playing 5 to 6 games. They've gone over 25 innings, um, having a respectable 4 ERA, or just over 4. Um, Not that great. Ideally, you want to be in the threes at least, but at least it's better than what Scherzer is right now. Look at Scherzer, 5 games, 22 innings pitched, of course, and of course, let's not forget Scherzer, being kicked down and all that stuff. But ZRA is still pretty high up there, 5.56. And Carrasco, honestly, I'm not sure what to say about him basically because I mean he's in the injured list, of course, IL, but it's one of those things where he hasn't recovered from last year. Same as Lucchese at least showed some signs of being good enough into the rotation to keep stay in the rotation, but I don't think he's going to last long. He might be. I think he could become the new Seth Lugo for the Mets, pushing him into the rotation if they can promote some people from AAA or even AA for that matter from the minors. Budo, I mean, honestly, Jose Budo is. I think he's not really a starter. He's also, same thing with Danny Reyes. Denny Reyes, sorry. The question is like Senga, like the players that they were expecting: Scherzer, Verlander, Carrasco, and Senga. Those are the four that you anticipated to have been, at least good enough. Specifically, Scherzer and Verlander. Senga being that, third anchor, and then Carrasco could be in and out. Peterson would come in and out. Same thing with Miguel, basically. But unless the Mets find some pitching, specifically for the starters as well as in the rotation for the relieving bullpen, I don't see the Mets doing what they did last year, repeating what they did last year. It's possible they probably have 88 wins, maybe 87. It's a possibility that they might be at 500. I mean, if they can get above 500, I think it's okay, but it's definitely a big disappointment. This is one of those things where I believe the Mets management has to make some trades. It's not a complete. It's not the season's not lost yet. Let's not forget that the season's not lost. Verlander, Scherzer could probably come back from this and lower the ERA, and the Mets bats, of course, they'll wake up eventually again. Batty coming back, coming in as well as Alvarez. Let's see how they work out, basically. But and of course, with Alonso, I think he'll wake up. He's, players are going to have slumps when it comes to hitting. They'll get out of that slump. Now the question is, if they go, if it's throughout the entire year that slump, then it's a problem at that point. But again, one of the things that I'm looking at basically is the pitching itself as well as the defense. Let's not forget the defense is not so great on field percentage for defense. It's not as you'd have anticipated, basically, quite honestly. I would say that this is something that maybe the Mets could work on a little bit. I mean, sharing the screen on the stats side of things, basically. It's not unheard of, I want to say, but it's one of those things where I think, honestly, I wouldn't say it's unheard of for the Mets, basically, if you're looking, with the totals the way they are right now. Like, this is the team fielding percentage right now in totals. As you see, it's not great, but it's not so bad either. Now, if we go to the batting for a second, aspect of things, like team batting wise, on average, you'll see, how Nito has to wake up. Alonso, he's going to be a just close, 280 hitter anyways. McNeil, it's pretty unusual for him to be in the 286 range. Look for him to get about 300. Same thing with Lindor. Escobar, it's hard to say. Cana, whatever, Nimmo, I think he's the only bright spot in the team right now. Vogelback, good DH, but I think they need to work on him a little bit. Then, of course, you got Francisco Alvarez and Brett Batty both being brought up. Pham, kind of old, but I think you need that, sort of that veteran leadership, sort of, in a ways, to lead off in that aspect. But at the same time, the team total batting average, of course, is like 238 overall. Not great, as you see. Like, you know, comparing all the NL teams in they're number 14. They're almost second to last, basically. But like I said, I think we should see them come back up again. As time progresses, basically. But I think, as I mentioned, basically, I mean, it's again a little early to say, but this is one of those things where I think the Mets have to either gut the team in a ways. I'd say because after DeGrom left, it was one of those things like, all right, they lost their ace that was relatively young. Um, they don't have an ace at this point. I mean, Scherzer and Verlander are supposedly the aces, but they're over their prime at this point, honestly. So this is one of those things where they were just overpaying. I think if they had that younger ace, like if the David Peterson was that ace, these two could have anchored him and helped him out, as well as Senga too. But Senga's not that ace as well too. He's more of like a third man rotation, the third man in the rotation in any team basically. He's not your number one or number two. At best, he's as I said, third. But fully, he's most likely number four. Actually, I'm thinking about it now. I think he's more of a number four more than anything else. Like, he's a back end anchor of your rotation. The man that should eat up innings, or should be similar with Carrasco. But I will say this though. I will say this. If the Mets can turn it around this month in May, if they can turn it around this month in May, and win out, like what is it? What's the schedule at? I forgot. Sorry. I mean, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games remaining in this month. If they can win probably the remaining 13 games out of those 17, if they can win 13 games out of those 17, they'll keep them in the hunt. They'll keep them in the middle of the pack, or sort of just above the middle of the pack, close to the playoff wildcard spot, to get them in there at that point. Because let's not forget, May, June, July, those are the months that you have to progress. So long as the I guess in this case actually, I gotta admit, I haven't entirely watched the Braves or the Marlins for that matter, but the Braves are going to run away with this unless the Phillies suddenly start getting hot. They'll jump up, but we know the Phillies always get really hot in the month of July and August, and mostly September as well too. Braves, they're already running away with the East, unless there's barring some injury and some serious slumps. I don't see the Braves losing the East. The thing that's surprising, I think, everyone, is definitely the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think that's a complete surprise. Similarly with the fact that the Padres are 17 and 15. I think everyone thought for sure the Padres would be competing with the Dodgers for the West at this point. And yeah, for the Central, honestly, I don't think anyone saw the Pirates coming up. I mean, they most likely was anticipated to be the Brewers and Cardinals, but more the Brewers more than anyone else. That's a surprise as well too. Similarly, I think it's the same thing with the AL East as well too. Like the Braves and Orioles above the Yankees and Red Sox. A little bit of surprise there, specifically the Tampa Bay Rays, and then of course you got the Texas Rangers on the West. The fact that the Astros and Angels, they have a decent record. They should be able to get up there and overtake the Rangers eventually. But the Rangers having DeGrom and filling out the needs that they needed, that they were going to compete at that point as well too. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to make a bold prediction. Not a prediction I want to do, but it's a bold prediction. I'm going to refer this in my future videos. If it does happen, I'm going to refer to this video in there. My bold prediction is this: Verlander and Scherzer are not going to be the type of pitchers that we expected them to be. Look for them to both have sort of losing records, but look for the Mets to pick up a couple of pitchers via trades or two promoting from the minors, and look for them to be that sort of quote unquote sensation, that spark that'll lead, bringing the Mets up basically. Because right now, at this point right now is it's a matter of like similar to Moneyball basically. The Mets have to hit and score runs because like they're not gonna have enough to defensively keep the teams down. It's a bold prediction, but that both Scherzer and Verlander will have a losing record, and two, that the Mets will still make the playoffs. They will make the playoffs. It's a bold prediction that the Mets will make the playoffs. They won't take the East, but they'll make the wild card. And look for a sensation from the minors that the Mets promote to bring him up, basically. And he might be that catalyst, that spark that brings the Mets into the playoffs, the wild card spot. But with that, I'll leave it at that. You're welcome to comment. Let me know your thoughts. I do read my comments. I do comment on them. I do respond to the comments when they warrant a response. And of course, if you like my channel and are not subscribed, please subscribe. I don't know why I keep going like this because I keep thinking the subscribe button is down here or here. I don't know, depending what you're viewing it on, what device you're viewing it on. Sorry. And if you like this video, you're welcome to like it. If you don't like this video, you're welcome to dislike it. But in any case, this is a case where like I'm hoping to create this channel specifically so that I can collaborate, or at least, moreover, create that sort of sense of discussion panels with this, since YouTube does allow to people go live or something like that. I forgot the exact thing is. Let me see. I gotta take a look at these. Sorry. YouTube. Let's see. Sorry. You can go live. Wow. Okay. I don't see it here. Sorry. Honestly, I don't see it here. Sorry about that. I'm not sure where that is. Let me see if I can see it on the phone then. Because I remember seeing there's a way to do it on the phone. Though I don't have that ability, but go live. Go live together. That's what they call it. Like going live together with other individuals just to discuss about the teams or sports in general, any specific teams, players for that matter, etc. Basically, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind going live together discussing about some reality shows. I mean, honestly, if you've seen my other videos, you've seen some videos of me talking about Vanderpump Rules. I think that caught me on guard because that caught on for me basically as more of a case was like you were seeing these not celebrities, but well-known actors, celebrities that you don't think they watch, but they watch. I'll admit, Michael Rappaport, I've seen some of his videos, and one of them he talked about Scandal. I'm like, why is he like so hyped up into this? And now I can see why. Will I go into the BravoCon universe? I don't think so, honestly, because that's too much reality TV. I mean, the Real Housewives universe, you got the Below Deck universe, you've got Vanderpump Rules, and whatever else. I mean, it looks like reality TV is gonna. It's coming to a point where, like, you know what? Maybe I should just have a reality TV show. But in reality, it's more of this is what these mediums are for: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, creating that stuff. And by the way, for those that are new to my channel, and if you've already stayed this far, if I hit 1 million views, not 1 million views, I hit 1 million subscribers, I will do a popular TikTok dance of the people's choice, basically, wherever it is, at whatever location. If I hit 100,000 subscribers, I will do a TikTok dance where, just do one of the popular TikTok dances. And if you've seen my dancing, you know it's horrible. So I'll be willing to like stream it live. and I will embarrass myself. I don't like to embarrass myself, but I will do that. So with that, but I'll leave it at that. As you know, if you've seen all my other videos on this channel, I usually don't rehearse or have any script or anything like that. This is off the top of my head, off the cuff. First thing that comes out of my mouth, it's unfiltered, meaning like I don't even like bother to like think about what I'm saying. It just say it out loud. Also, usually I don't have any graphics or such. Um, I mean, you'll see graphics every now and then, but I won't have like proper graphics. I would say like virtual background. I mean, I would love to have one of those virtual backgrounds. It's very rare to have some of the virtual backgrounds, but I'm starting to learn OBS now, so I'll probably put that in place now. But you won't see a case where like I'll edit my videos, meaning that if I screw up, I'll stop it and like splice them together. The only time you'll see a break is I paused it because either a phone call's coming in or something's coming down, but most likely a phone call's coming in, so I'll pause it then and then resume it. But I won't like take two of the best, the best of between different videos and splice them together. You'll never see that happen. Not yet, anyways. Unless people wish for that, then I'll do that. But like I said, I'd like to think of this as more of like streaming live in a ways when I'm discussing this stuff, because usually you have bullet points of like what you want to talk about. In my case, I don't have any bullet points. This is one of those things. I just haven't seen the Mets. I want to talk about the Mets, seeing where they're at and the fact that they were swept. It's not something I'd like to see, but honestly, it's at that stage right now where I don't think Mets fans should worry too much just yet. This is not a time to start panicking. I think this is more of like riding the ship a little bit, where Showalter is experienced enough to know what's going to work and what's not going to work. He might be experimenting a little bit too here and there, and he might go back to some of his old ways too. I won't be surprised if he goes back to his old ways of like in the early '90s, early to mid '90s, basically, where he would be teaching him the fundamentals or going back to the fundamentals, because it seems like some of the fundamentals are being lost with this current Mets team. And look to see him do sacrifice bunts. I think he's going to start doing sacrifice bunts, even though in reality you're not supposed to be giving that out away. I think if you need that run, I think he's probably going to do that. And steals as well too. Like you might see some more steals. I mean, I think the fact that I think it was on Tuesday's game or Wednesday's game. I can't remember one of the two games. The Mets were down by 2 runs. Nimmo was on first. It was 1 out, and Nimmo still was stealing second. Of course, he was thrown out. It was uncharacteristic of the Mets to steal like that, especially that late in the game. But I don't know if it's a case where Nimmo was unsure. It was just hard to determine. Like, was it manager's decision to like go for the steal, or was it Nimmo's decision, or some miscommunication? But I kind of like that. Nimmo has speed. Utilize that speed. If you can steal. Most people say no, you shouldn't steal, but I think you should. But anyways, I've diverted again on extended even more than I should have, quite honestly. But I'll leave it at that. And as I usually end it off, unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.